Hello, everyone. Happy Mercury Day. Hopefully, everyone is amazing. I wanted to knock this video out really quickly. I'm about to start the fourth quarter of my day, and I was like, while you're here enjoying this beautiful sunshine, knock this video out. So I will do just that. So I wanted to rewind. We're going to go back to 2005 because I have to lay this out in chronological order so that it makes sense. And also I have to sprinkle in just my professional observations and just, different articles that I've read and let y'all know what is coming down the pipeline in case you are not aware. So let's rewind back to 2005. And for those of you who recall, in 2005, we had this influx of home improvement shows and Flip This House and things of that nature. And that was going on for, quite some time, right? I like to refer to this as the long con, right? So there were all of these home improvement shows, Flip This House, and everyone was interested in purchasing homes, right? So a couple years, let's just say 1 or 2 years after that, this is when the adjustable rate mortgage was introduced to society. And on top of or included with that adjustable rate mortgage, there was this thing that had never been heard of before, which was stated income. So the stage was set, right? There were all of these shows glamorizing home ownership, flipping houses, and now the opportunity for people to purchase homes is now available. And that was done by adjustable rate mortgages. The mortgage interest rate started off super low, and then, of course, it adjusted within like 2 or 3 years to something ridiculous. Now, for those of you who have purchased a home, your income is looked at thoroughly. So when I saw that the banks were allowing, specifically Washington Mutual, was allowing people to state their income without verifying their income, I was like, this is not going to be good. Now, AIG was insuring these home loans, and remember, what was it? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac was, they were also involved in this as well. So just to insert a little bit more financial history, Washington Mutual was a bank on the West Coast, and JP Morgan Chase, most people know, was on the East Coast. So now this environment has been brewing. People are buying homes that a lot of them were coming with a lot of equity and people were taking out second mortgages. They were buying cars and boats and motorcycles. People were doing the full. And I'm just sitting back and I'm thinking, there is something underlying to this. And I knew a lot of people that were getting involved in this, and I was telling them, I was like, dude, I don't think this is a good idea. This is not smart, and I was telling other people who had their 401ks tied up in AIG, I'm like, dude, you might want to move that money. This is not going to go well for you if you do not move that money. So then 2008 occurs and people lose like 50% of their mortgages. I'm sorry, not of their mortgages, of their 401ks, because they were heavily invested in AIG. Washington Mutual tanks, along with other banks. JP Morgan acquires Washington Mutual, which is why JP Morgan Chase Bank is on the West Coast to begin with. Because again, Chase was an East Coast bank during this time. They were not on the West Coast. So People are losing their houses. They're being foreclosed on because now that adjustable rate mortgage that rate has adjusted now. So now the bank's like, hey, not only is your house underwater, it's not worth what you think it is. Now the interest rate has adjusted to something higher than 3 or 4, whatever it was. Now it's higher, and now, your mortgage is 2 to 3 times more than what it initially was. Oh, and by the way, you took out that second mortgage and you bought, these cars and these whatever people were buying. So, hey, now, we're calling that in as well. So now here comes this wave of people losing their homes. They've lost their retirements. This is another insight as to why a lot of, and maybe they don't speak about it, but I worked in the banking industry for a very long time. So I know what is going on in the back end, whether people want to admit it or not. It could be embarrassment or whatever, but anyways, I know the truth is what I'm saying. So this is a large part as to why a lot of baby boomers are unable to retire, because the majority of their retirement got wiped out during the 2008 market crash, or mortgage bubble, excuse me. Well, shit, the market crashed too. But anywho, so now, again, this was a housing market wave that crashed because, of course, what is the natural motion of a wave? A wave is going to crash, and that once it crashes, that the power from that wave getting to that peak and coming down and crashing is now going to create a ripple through everything in its path. And unfortunately for that path was those who had their mortgages in an adjustable rate mortgage situation, those who had their retirements were in AIG and all of the other companies, because there was more, but those are the main ones that were making money hand over fist. So again, back to this wave, right? So I said all that to say that made it, well, let me not say that. That what we are experiencing now is very reminiscent of 2005 to 2008. Let me make a point. When all of these DIY shows about home ownership and flipping houses became popular was in 2005. Those shows stopped airing in mass in 2009. So a year after the housing bubble crashed, then those shows were like, uh-oh, gotta go, right? So anywho, so now rewinding back a couple of years, and we have this wave of interest in business and LLCs and financial literacy and things of that nature. Now, first let me say, coming from a business banking, stock, securities, accounting background, collectively 16 years, I know I look young. But, that excited me. At the same time, I was like, this seems a little odd to me. So, of course, for those of you who recall, because we were there, we were present, and for those of you who were there, I'll just speak for myself, I saw a lot of business gurus and business experts popping up in my Explore page talking about get an LLC and file for your EIN, and you can write off your meals and all types of, getting the, specifically the Black community, excited in LLCs, which I'll get into in a second, getting them excited in establishing LLCs, getting EIN numbers, getting your DUNS number, all of these things that can be amazing and are amazing when you know what you're doing. So I'm watching this and I get that same feeling. I'm like, this seems really strange to me, because for something or entity, whatever, to not have your best interest in mind, and then allow, because this, these platforms are not owned by the people that were being targeted. Now there is this situation where people have applied for EIN numbers. Again, this is the IRS's website. So now there is a record of, an EIN being applied for your name, your address, things of that nature. And then the outside of that EIN being on record, there's all of these different payment platforms, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, all of these things. And, these payment platforms, again, are not owned by the people who are utilizing this for business. So there's a lot of articles coming out that now, as of this year, PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, etc. are now required to report all income to the IRS. So now people that may or may not have been on the plantation in some years, or have filed tax returns in some years, whatever, are now in the system as being business owners with the legal entity of an LLC. And now there is a record of payments coming in under your social security number, which is also attached to your name, which is also attached to your EIN filing. So I was thinking, I'm like, why the LLC? Like, why? I get it, the limited liability, et cetera, but this is how the LLC works. I'm just going to give this really briefly because, there's so much to the LLC, but just a quick rundown. So an LLC works there's one of two ways that you can go about this. So when you establish an LLC, and you're applying for your EIN, you're either going to be like a disregarded entity, or you are going to file a form, I think it's Form 8832, and you request to be treated as a corporation. Now, if you go the disregarded entity route, you are a general partnership, meaning you are the same as a sole prop, meaning your company is passing through its income, profits, losses to your personal tax return. If you are asking to be treated as a corporation, now you are in the realm of paying corporate taxes. So now there is, again, this record, this long con, where now there has been this boom in EINs and LLCs that have been established, and now there's income that has to be reported, which is either going to be reported on your personal income tax return or on your business income tax return. So I said all that to say, it is very wise to not become caught up in the excitement of something new, or the excitement of, I don't want to say how you can get over, but in a sense, yeah, because listening to the delivery of how that went down, it was it wasn't in the realm or the state that it should have been in. So fast forward a little bit, 2022, as a lot of us have read or heard, the Biden administration is put like a bunch of money into the IRS so that they can catch up on these personal tax returns and also collect their taxes. Because for those of you who do not know, the United States is a foreign corporation. It has always been since 1861, and it makes its money through taxes. So the more business savvy people who have amazing accountants have been able to avoid paying large amounts of taxes. For those who are not so business savvy, when you are making 100,000 in revenue, 200,000, whatever, you have now placed yourself in a situation where when it is time to be audited, you have to have your shit together, because who do you think they are going to look to first in order to make up and collect all of this, this inflationary money that they have been, whether it's, this war or just poor management of its entity itself, like anything that has a history of being a thief and a murderer and, getting by and coming up on the backs of other people, specifically people that don't know what they're doing. Like, what do you think they're going to do? So y'all, get your documents in order, go back through your information and look at your past tax returns. That's a whole nother story. But look at your old, tax returns, specifically the preparer. If you paid someone to prepare your hello, how are you? So, anywho, yeah, just look at, I'm missing my golden hour. Okay, my bad, y'all, my bad. There we go. Okay. And no, I'm not editing this. He was handsome, y'all. Okay. Anywho, so okay, so go through your tax returns. Look at, if you had them prepared by someone, make sure that person's name is on your tax return. Because what I have noticed people have done in like a slick manner is when they're preparing taxes, when they don't want to take the liability on, they do not place their name on that tax return. So please be mindful of that going forward. When you are having your business or personal, make sure that whoever's preparing your taxes is putting their information on there and not putting your name on there. Also, just start creating like a file for your business documentation and getting that as organized as possible, because I had like a flash of, I think it was 2019, 2020, when this buzz was going on about the greatest wealth transfer in history. Trust and believe that greatest wealth transfer is not going to be the proverbial powers that be. It's not going to be their money transferring out. So, do not allow yourself to be caught up in everything that you have been working your ass off to accumulate to be taken from you because you were miseducated or misguided or whatever the situation. Get your shit in order. Please, please, please. Because it's like, who does all that work to like have it like snatched, And, I've been audited before and it is no fun. It's scary. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's scary. That shit is scary. Because, the IRS has the ability and the authority. Because again, you are using their numbers, their system, their everything. So they have the ability to levy any and all accounts that have your information attached to it. Be them a joint account. They do not care. They will freeze your accounts until you show and prove like, hey, this is what it is, whatever. And so just be mindful of that. Again, there is a link in my bio for, even if it's not you, if you know someone who, did not know what they were doing. And this is not anything to be embarrassed of. Like, nobody teaches, the Black community about business and finance and how to properly move and groove in the realm of business. So don't feel ashamed. Like, we've all done some crazy things in our lives. So don't be ashamed. But if it's not you, and you know, someone who needs their business documentation cleaned up, if they need financial statements prepared so that if they are audited, they got their shit in line, you know, or even just needs to know how to speak to the IRS, send them the link in my bio and I would be happy to speak with them. I gotta go, y'all. It is hot. I have had a long day. And I will see you guys soon. So bye.